The silence came first. Not the gentle hush of dawn, but a sudden suffocating stillness that pressed against the windows and seeped into every room. In apartments and houses, people paused mid-motion, holding their breath, waiting for the familiar hum to return. But it never did. On the streets, traffic lights blinked out, cars stalled in intersections. A woman stepped from her vehicle, phone in hand, searching for a signal that was gone. Crowds gathered, murmuring anxiously. Some shouted questions, others stared at blank screens, desperate for news, for answers, for anything. I remember a father clutching his daughter's hand, whispering reassurances he didn't believe. A teenager banging on a dead laptop. An old man staring at a silent radio. The world outside changed, too. The constant hum of traffic faded. The distant wail of sirens was replaced by the eerie bark of a lone dog echoing through empty streets. Familiar places became unrecognizable. Supermarkets, once bright and bustling, stood dark and deserted. Office towers loomed like silent tombstones. The digital world vanished in a blink. Bank accounts, messages, memories gone as if they had never existed. People wandered the streets, calling out to neighbors, lighting candles, searching for any sign of what had happened. The power grid had failed, a catastrophic cascade that plunged cities and towns into a darkness that felt ancient and absolute. In that first night, as families huddled together by candlelight, the world felt both impossibly large and terrifyingly small. The old normal was gone, only questions remained. In the old world, money was king. It ruled our choices, our dreams, and our sense of security. We worked for it, saved it, spent it. It measured success, promised security, and bought power. But when the collapse came, chaos erupted. Banks locked their doors. ATMs flashed error messages. People pounded on glass, desperate for access to their vanished wealth. Credit cards were rejected, cash was refused. I saw a woman break down in tears as her card was declined for a loaf of bread. The psychological shock was overwhelming. People clung to their wallets, staring at useless paper, unable to accept that their safety net was gone. In the chaos, scams flourished. Some offered fake food vouchers or counterfeit supplies in exchange for jewelry, electronics, or family heirlooms. I watched a man in a tailored suit offer a briefcase of cash for a single can of beans. The seller just laughed. What use was money now? You couldn't eat it, drink it, or burn it for warmth for more than seconds. The king was dead, his kingdom gone overnight. True value was now tangible, practical, useful. Communities were rocked by a shockwave. People learned painfully that survival depended not on paper or numbers but on what you could trade, build, or do. With money gone, humanity returned to the oldest form of commerce, barter. Bustling markets sprang up in parks, parking lots, and abandoned buildings, filled with people eager to trade what little they had. Every interaction became a negotiation. 2 cans of beans for a flashlight, a blanket for a handful of batteries. People haggled, argued, and shook hands over deals. Some trades were unusual. A mechanic fixed a bicycle in exchange for a loaf of bread. A child swapped a comic book for a bar of soap. Value was whatever someone needed most. Disputes were common. Without set prices, arguments flared over what was fair. Sometimes written agreements or witnesses were used to settle trades and prevent cheating. Over time, local markets developed their own rules. Some groups posted lists of fair exchange rates. Others created tokens or written chits to represent promises of future goods or services. Practical items. Lighters, canned food, soap, salt, coffee became the most sought after. But creativity flourished. A musician played songs for a meal. An artist painted portraits for a warm coat. Slowly, new social norms formed. Honesty and reputation became as valuable as any item. Those who cheated or broke deals were shunned, while trustworthy traders thrived. In this new world, value was fluid, shaped by need, creativity, and trust. Barter was more than trade. It was the foundation for rebuilding community. I remember a young family, a mother, a father, and their little girl, walking for days through abandoned roads, their faces hollow with exhaustion and fear. Each night, they huddled together in the ruins of empty buildings, listening to distant thunder and the howl of stray dogs. Hunger gnawed at them, and every shadow seemed a threat. By the time they reached our fortified community, they had nothing but the clothes on their backs and a battered backpack. The little girl clung to her mother, eyes wide with silent pleading. The community gathered, wary and tense. Some whispered that we couldn't spare food or water for strangers. Others remembered their own families lost on the road. The father, David, stepped forward. His voice trembled, but he stood tall. "I have no food, I have no tools. But I was an electrician, I can fix things, I can help." Some doubted him. Maria, who managed the well and generator, looked skeptical, but desperation breeds hope, and she agreed to give him a chance. That night the family was given a corner in the shelter. They ate quietly, grateful for every bite, but the tension in the room was thick. At dawn, David got to work. He examined the broken generator, cleaned corroded wires, and scavenged parts from abandoned machines. The community watched, some with hope, others with suspicion. Hours passed. Sweat dripped from David's brow as he worked by lantern light. As night fell, a sputter, then a roar. The generator came to life. A single bulb flickered on, casting a warm glow over the room. Relief and gratitude swept through the group. That light was more than electricity, it was hope. David had paid his way not with goods but with skill and determination. Over the next days the family became part of us. The mother helped tend the sick. The little girl played with other children, laughter returning to her voice. Trust grew slowly at first, then stronger. Others began to offer their skills, herbal knowledge, carpentry, teaching. Together we rebuilt not just our shelter but our sense of community. In the end, it was not possessions that saved us, but the willingness to help, to trust, and to build something new together. As days turned into weeks, a new hierarchy of value began to solidify. Skills and knowledge became the new currency, and those willing to learn or teach found themselves at the center of every community. The rush for canned goods and ammunition faded. Instead, people formed groups to teach each other how to grow food, repair tools, and build shelters. Gardeners became teachers, mechanics led workshops, and former office workers learned to mend clothes or purify water. The person who could teach others to grow beans or fix a broken radio became the wealthiest in the room. A retired teacher started literacy classes for children and adults alike, while a chef showed neighbors how to cook with limited ingredients. Doctors, nurses, farmers, mechanics, engineers, carpenters, and blacksmiths. These were the new titans of industry. But so were those who could teach first aid, lead a water purification demonstration, or organize a skill-sharing network. People reinvented themselves, learning new trades and passing on what they knew. In the old world, status mattered. Now, if you couldn't purify water, hunt, or defend a perimeter, your old world status meant nothing. People who once managed offices now learned to repair bicycles or tend chickens, guided by those with practical experience. Libraries and manuals became vital. Agricultural guides, water treatment field guides, and handwritten notes passed from neighbor to neighbor. Education was no longer a luxury, it was survival. Ask yourself, what are your skills? Not just office jobs, but real hands-on abilities. First aid, tying knots, growing food, fixing engines, teaching others. The most valuable people were those who could both do and teach. Knowledge was power, and practical skills were currency. Those who shared what they knew earned a place at the table, a seat by the fire, and a chance to see tomorrow. Communities rebuilt themselves through education and cooperation. This was the first step in rebuilding not just our lives but civilization itself. In every corner, people taught, learned, and grew, laying the foundation for a new world built on shared knowledge. Beyond goods and skills, a new currency emerged: trust. In the aftermath, trust was more valuable than any supply or tool. In a world without courts or police, your word was your bond. Communities created rituals, shared meals, nightly watches, and open councils to build trust and hold each other accountable. I remember a woman named Ruth. She volunteered for the hardest jobs, standing guard in the cold, tending the sick, sharing her last piece of bread. Her reliability made her a leader even without a title, but there were others, like Mark, who hoarded supplies and lied about his skills. When his deception was discovered, the group turned on him. He was cast out, forced to survive alone. Trust is earned drop, by keeping promises, sharing burdens, and showing up when it matters. Betrayal spreads suspicion, poisoning the group from within. When trust breaks, communities fracture. Camps splinter, and those left alone rarely last long. Survival depends on the strength of the bonds between people. The strongest groups were not those with the most weapons or food, but those who trusted each other completely. Loyalty, honesty, and selflessness became the foundation of survival. In the old world, you could hide behind money. Here, your character was visible to all. Trust was the hardest currency to earn, and the most essential to keep. In crisis, true character is revealed. When the world falls apart, it is not wealth or status that matters, but the choices we make under pressure. Every day we face decisions. Do we share our last meal or hoard it? Do we offer a hand or turn away? These moments, repeated day after day, build or erode our reputation. A single act of kindness can echo, inspiring others. But a single betrayal can fracture trust, sometimes beyond repair. I have seen people fall, those who lied, who stole, who put themselves above the group. Their downfall was swift, their isolation complete. But I have also seen redemption, a selfish man risking his life to save a stranger, a fearful woman standing up for what is right. Character is not fixed. It is forged in hardship, tested in setbacks, and proven in the way we treat others when no one is watching. Over time, those who show resilience, integrity, and compassion become the backbone of any group. If you falter, you can change. Redemption is possible, through honest effort, apologies, and new choices. But beware. Negativity, blame, and selfishness poison morale and can destroy even the strongest group. Cultivate your character every day. Be reliable, honest, resourceful. Small acts, sharing, listening, standing up for others, build the muscle of character. This is the one currency that grows with use, and it will carry you through any storm. Decide who you want to be and start living that way now. When everything else is stripped away, your character is all you have left, and it is enough. The future is uncertain. Hope alone is not a plan. Preparation is your responsibility, and your best insurance. Start with a checklist. Build a basic emergency kit: water, food, flashlight, batteries, first aid, and copies of important documents. Store at least 3 days' worth of water, 1 gallon per person per day. Don't forget pets. Stock up on shelf-stable foods, rice, beans, canned meats, and honey. Rotate supplies to keep them fresh. Have a way to purify water: filters, purification tablets, or boiling. Practice using them before you need to. Fire is life. Keep lighters, waterproof matches, and ferro rods in your kit. Test them regularly. Invest in skills. Take a first aid and CPR course. Learn to grow food. Even a small balcony garden teaches resilience. Practice navigation with a map and compass. Learn essential knots and basic home repairs. Mistakes now are lessons, not disasters. Build your community. Get to know your neighbors. Share knowledge and resources. Train together. Strong bonds save lives. Stay motivated by setting small, achievable goals. Track your progress. Celebrate each step. Preparation is a journey, not a sprint. Mental preparation is just as vital. Practice adaptability. Expect plans to change. Stay calm, stay flexible, and support each other. The best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best is now. Start small, keep going, and you'll be ready for whatever comes. In the aftermath, when the dust settled and silence lingered, it was easy to feel only loss. But even in the darkest hours, something remarkable began to stir. Small victories appeared, neighbors sharing a meal, laughter echoing as children played among the ruins, hands working together to clear debris and plant new seeds. Hope took root in these moments, fragile at first, but growing stronger with every act of kindness, every shared burden, every rebuilt home. This was not wishful thinking. Hope became the outcome of shared effort, of learning new skills, of supporting one another, of rediscovering purpose together. Each repaired tool, each sprouting garden, each meal cooked together was a testament to resilience. These were the seeds of a new beginning. Community was rebuilt around shared meals, celebrations of survival, and the simple joy of being together. No one was truly alone. Purpose returned, protecting loved ones, rebuilding homes, teaching children, and finding meaning in every shared task. Every small triumph, a repaired roof, a new garden bed, a child's laughter, became a reason to hope, a sign that life could be beautiful again. The end of one world was the beginning of another, built on compassion, courage, and the unbreakable bonds of community. Prepare. Build your character. Build your community. In the end, hope is not a strategy. It is the outcome of all we do, together. In the shadow of catastrophe, the greatest battles are often fought in silence, within our own minds. Long-term isolation, the loss of routine, the absence of familiar comforts, can quietly erode even the strongest spirits. Days blend together. Loneliness becomes a constant companion. Anxiety and grief linger, unspoken and unseen. But surviving isn't just about finding food or shelter, it's about preserving the light within. Mental health becomes as vital as any physical resource. Simple routines, waking with the sun, tending a garden, sharing a story, offer structure and purpose. Creative expression, drawing, writing, music provides an outlet for fear and hope alike. Even in solitude, connection is possible. A shared meal, a note left for a neighbor, a quiet conversation around a fire. Communities that prioritize mental well-being, checking in on each other, creating safe spaces to talk, honoring moments of rest, become havens for healing. Mindfulness, gratitude, self-compassion are more than buzzwords, they are survival skills. Taking time to breathe, to reflect, to find small joys can turn despair into resilience. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to struggle. you are not alone in your silent battles. Together, by caring for our minds as much as our bodies, we forge a path through darkness, not just surviving, but truly living. In the new world, strength is measured not just by endurance, but by the courage to heal, to hope, and to begin again. When the old world crumbles, it's not just our routines and comforts that vanish, so do the systems we once relied on. But in the void left behind, human ingenuity becomes our most powerful tool. Rebuilding society doesn't always start with grand inventions. More often it's the simple, low-tech solutions that make the greatest difference. Communities rediscover ancient skills, purifying water, sand, charcoal, preserving food through fermentation, generating light with handmade candles. Solar ovens crafted from salvaged materials, bicycle-powered generators, hand-crank radios become lifelines, reminders that innovation isn't always digital. It's about making the most of what's at hand. Creativity flourishes when necessity demands it. Broken machinery is repurposed. Old batteries are brought back to life through makeshift charging setups. Gardens spring up from vacant lots, irrigated with rainwater collected in repurposed barrels. Shared workshops become hubs of experimentation, where anyone can offer an idea or lend a hand. But technology isn't just about tools. It's a mindset, a willingness to adapt, experiment, and collaborate. Communities that foster curiosity and problem-solving thrive. People pool their knowledge, teaching skills to neighbors, documenting solutions, and passing on lessons learned. Innovation becomes a language of hope. It's the spark that lights a cold night, the clean water that saves a life, the network of signals that connects distant friends. By blending old wisdom with new ideas, we build not only shelters and systems, but the foundation for a future. One where resilience is powered by creativity, and survival is shaped by shared ingenuity. In the aftermath of collapse, every small invention, every act of creative problem-solving is a step toward rebuilding. Not just what we lost, but something stronger, smarter, and more sustainable than before. In every crisis, leadership becomes the compass that guides a community through uncertainty. When the world turns upside down, decisions made in the heat of the moment can mean the difference between chaos, cohesion, survival, collapse. But leadership isn't just about giving orders. It's about inspiring trust, fostering unity, making tough choices when the path forward is unclear. Throughout history, different styles of leadership have emerged in times of upheaval. Some leaders stand at the front, commanding with authority swift action. Their decisiveness can rally a frightened group, set clear priorities, bring order to confusion. But when power goes unchecked, these same traits can breed resentment, fracturing communities, stifling innovation. Others lead by listening, building consensus, encouraging participation, drawing out the strengths of every individual. This collaborative approach can unlock hidden talents and creative solutions, but it can also slow critical decisions when time is short. There are those who lead quietly by example, through acts of courage, compassion, integrity. Their influence spreads not by words, but by the trust they earn and the hope they inspire. In the darkest moments, these leaders remind us of our shared humanity and model the resilience needed to endure. No single style fits every crisis. The strongest groups adapt, blending structure with flexibility, vision with humility. They recognize when to act swiftly and when to listen. They empower others to step forward, knowing that leadership is not a title, but a responsibility shared by all. In the end, it's not just what leaders decide, it's how they decide and who they bring along the way. In the aftermath, the legacy of leadership is measured not only in survival, the bonds forged, the lessons learned, the seeds of hope sown for whatever comes next. When the dust settles after a societal breakdown, the landscape is often fractured, not just physically but emotionally and socially. Communities that once coexisted may find themselves divided by suspicion, old grievances, or simple unfamiliarity. The challenge isn't only to rebuild structures but to rebuild trust, a currency even more fragile and valuable than before. In the absence of familiar systems, fear and scarcity can drive wedges between groups. Rumors spread quickly. Past conflicts resurface. Cooperation, once taken for granted, becomes a hard-won achievement. Yet history shows us that healing is possible, even after the deepest divides. It starts small, a shared meal between neighbors, joint efforts to repair a well, clear a road. These simple acts create opportunities for dialogue, for seeing each other, not as rivals but as fellow survivors. Trust grows in the spaces where people listen, acknowledge each other's struggles, and work side by side. But rebuilding cooperation requires more than good intentions. It means confronting hard truths, addressing injustices, setting boundaries, and creating new rules that everyone can agree on. Leaders and mediators play a critical role guiding honest conversations, ensuring every voice is heard. Forgiveness becomes a conscious choice, not a feeling. Respect is earned through actions, not words. Over time, bridges are built, sometimes literally, often figuratively. Shared rituals, new traditions, collective goals knit communities back together. The process is slow and sometimes painful, but each step forward lays the foundation for a more resilient society. In the end, the greatest triumph isn't just survival, but the rediscovery of what binds us: empathy, cooperation, and hope that together we can create something stronger than what was lost. In the aftermath of upheaval, when the world feels unrecognizable, there are forces that quietly persist, threads that tie us to who we were and who we hope to become. Art, music, storytelling are among the most powerful of these. When communities are fractured and trust is being rebuilt piece by piece, it is often a song, a mural, a shared tale that reminds us of our shared humanity. Even in the darkest times, people have always found ways to create. A lullaby hummed to comfort a child. A mural painted on the side of a battered building, transforming scars into symbols of resilience. Stories told around a fire, old legends, new memories, helping us make sense of chaos and pass wisdom to the next generation. These acts are more than distractions, they are lifelines. Art captures the beauty and pain of survival. Music gives voice to emotions too deep for words. Storytelling preserves history and identity, ensuring that even as the world changes, the essence of a people endures. In times of crisis, creativity is an act of defiance, a declaration that hope is not lost. Shared songs become anthems of unity. Drawings, crafts become tokens of gratitude and remembrance. Through storytelling, communities reaffirm who they are and what they value, finding strength in their collective narrative. So as we rebuild structures and trust, let us also nurture the light that remains within us. For it is through art, music, and stories that we remember, imagine, and ultimately heal. In these expressions we find not just solace, but the blueprint for a future worth striving for, a future where the human spirit undimmed continues to shine.